Hello, boys and girls. Today, we are learning about landscapes. So here is a very famous example that I'm sure you've seen before, and this is Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. And all landscapes, even impressionist ones, which is this, have a foreground, middle ground, and background. So you are going to make a landscape with a foreground, middle ground, and background. But what are they? So a foreground is, think of front, closest to the viewer. So something that would be in the foreground here would be this long tower-like structure that Vincent van Gogh has in his painting. It's at the front, closest to you. Middle ground is in the middle. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's always in the middle. It means it's in the middle of the foreground and the background. So something in the middle could be these hills. It could be these churches here or these buildings here. It wouldn't be this because it's in the front, in the foreground. Background is furthest away from you, all the way in the back. And it is usually, but not always, skies and suns and sometimes mountains off in the distance. So here, his stars and his wind blowing and his moon is in the background. Okay, so we have foreground, front, middle ground in between the background and the foreground, and background all the way in the back, furthest away from you, okay? You are going to be creating a landscape. So it's up to you to decide what your landscape is going to look like. You can draw your landscape the long way, which is landscape, or the tall way, which is portrait. I'm going to draw my landscape portrait. So, landscapes don't necessarily have to be land. There's such things as seascapes or cityscapes. And for mine, I think I am going to draw a seascape. Now, you will eventually be cutting this out. So, you're not going to be cutting out your sloppy copy, but you're going to be cutting out for your final copy. So when you're doing this, you don't want to make things too small or too detailed that you're going to have a lot of trouble cutting it out. So think about what you're making. So here I'm going to just draw my sketch. Okay, so here is my sloppy copy all completely drawn. So you can see I have stuff in the foreground, which is closest to you. Middle ground would be my waves, and furthest away in the background would be my background. So, I also have something which I did not mention in Vincent van Gogh's painting, which he did have as well. Starry Night has it. So it's where the earth and the sky meet. So here there's water meeting the sky. So that is the horizon line. So here I have a horizon line as well, which you most likely will. So now what you're going to do is you're going to get a final piece of white paper. Please write your name on the back. And what we're going to do is we are going to collage, which means glue and cut together a landscape or a seascape or a cityscape, whatever you decided to do. The difficult part is you're not cutting it out of here. You're going to use this as references. So I am first going to have to think about the colors that I'm going to use. And I am making you guys use warm and cool colors. So my foreground and middle ground needs to be warm or cool colors. And then my background needs to be the opposite. Since I did the ocean, my foreground I'm going to do in cool colors. And my background I'm going to do in warm colors. So I am first going to pick what paper I want for my background. This is just so that you're getting that paper down on here so that you can start layering and collaging over top of it. So I think I'm going to do this paper. I'm going to line it up here, and then I'm going to flip it over because it's a little too big, and I'm going to trim off the excess paper because I don't need that excess. Okay, now I can put this back over, And I'm going to get my glue, which this is all dried out, so I guess I gotta need to get a different one. Okay, here we go. A nice new non-dried out glue stick, and I'm going to put it up a little. And I'm going to flip over my paper, and I'm going to glue around the edges. And then I'm going to do a cross through the middle, a little X. And I'm going to flip this back over and glue it on my paper. Oh, make sure you turn it the right way, because that was not lining up the right way. Now it is. And I'm going to push it down. If it's pulling off anywhere, like there, add some reinforcement. Put some extra glue on there. No reason you can't. Now, my foreground and middle ground I said was going to be in cool colors. So I'm going to grab a blue sheet of paper now, and I am going to figure out the size that I want it. Oh, obviously it has to go this way because it doesn't fit otherwise. Trim off the extra paper. Hey, I don't want it to be this big. I don't want my waves to go up that high, because if you look at my sloppy copy, they do not go up that high. So what I'm going to do on here is I'm going to lightly draw my waves. I think I want them to come up a little higher than that orange paper. So my orange paper ends here. So I'm going to draw my waves. I am gluing it on the pencil side so you don't see my pencil lines, which is a smart idea because you don't want to see those. Now you'll just continue doing the rest of your design and filling this in. Okay, now I have my cool part of my landscape done. Looks very nice. I layered. I decided to outline. At first I was going to flip them over, as you saw I started to do. But then I decided it didn't look as cool when you saw the black of the outlines, which really makes those colors pop. So now I am going to move on to the warm part of my landscape, which is the top part. So I'm going to add in some clouds and suns to get my landscape done. I'm all done now, so now it's time for me to clean up my mess and fill out my self-reflection sheet and turn this all in. Have fun. I hope you have as much fun as I did with this. Be creative too.